Hey guys, this is Martin Maes. We are here in La Tuile for the third and the fourth round of the Enduro World Series, and I'm here to present you my brand new GT Carbon Force. So yeah, what's new on that frame? We've been running the idler with the Fury for downhill. So GT took the experience of the idler and make it obviously better and even more efficient than what it was with the Fury. So the idler mainly prevent pedal kickback. So when you go down, it's actually very smooth. And we've got 160 mm of travel, front and back. So that's a little bit of an upgrade from the old bike because we were only having 150 mm of travel. So for the suspension in general, I really like to use my suspension a lot. I use it to the maximum. So I'm running my suspension generally pretty soft. So I like to use to run a lot of sag on my bike, on my enduro bike. I run air shock. The only reason is I get more speed out of compression or bumps, and I feel like it's also a bit more reactive and active through, like I say, compression, bumps, but also on the stages you have a lot of pedaling sometimes. So I feel like, you know, it's completely different than downhill where there is no compromises. In downhill, you just go full in for full speed, you know the track, and you set up your bike for what you know. But for enduro, you know, the variety of the tracks are huge and you can't really set up your bike for one stage. It has to be an overall feeling, and I feel like the air shock is much better for that. For the fork, the front suspension, we also have the chance to run 170 mm of travel, but I decided to run only 160 mm of travel. The reason is that I really like to be quite low over the front and have a lot of grip, so that's adding a lot of grip, drop a little bit the BB as well, so I have a better overall feeling running that setup. Once again, I'm only 70 kgs, so I feel like the 36 was running a little bit better for me, a little bit more flex, a little bit more grip, especially when the condition are like yesterday, quite wet, very tricky. I feel like the fork is working a little bit better. So it is my choice here for the Enduro World Series in La Tuile. And you know, we always have the option to change and go back to a 38, but this is what I like the most at the moment. I'm running a 34 chainring, Shimano chainring, combined with a 45-10 Shimano cassette. Sometimes we go down to 32 teeth at the front when we have a lot of steep pedalist liaison, but that's very rare. And that's also running the small cassette. I also have the chance to go 51. But then the derailleur is longer, so there is more chance to hit the derailleur. So I'm running that compromise of having a small derailleur combined with a 45, and if we need to go a little bit easier on the climb, then I'm switching to a 32 chainring. We are running one-up compound. I've got a 35 mm handlebars because I used to race a lot of BMX and I like big rise on handlebars. It's combined to a 50 mm stem, which for me, it's been a big decision to go from the 30 to the 50, just because I really liked the feeling of the 30, but I had even more grip going to the 50 mm stem. So that was a hard decision. Yeah, and for the brakes, I guess I don't have massive hands, so I'm not running my levers too high. I feel like it's maybe 45 degrees or something like that. but that's something that I've always been running, and I always keep the same settings for that kind of settings. So yeah, Saint, very strong feeling, and I think for me the best brake out there. Yeah, there is a lot of people, even in downhill, that went to the new XTR brakes, but I'm sticking to the Saint because I've always loved those brakes, as they give me a lot of confidence. And also little details, I'm only running 180 mil rotor. Once again, like my mechanics Mark say, I'm usually very light on the brake, and I feel like I'm saving a little bit of weight, but also I feel like with smaller rotors I can be a little bit more precise on the braking. So that's the option we went for. For the tires here in La Trail, I'm usually running the Michelin wide enduro front at the front, but this is actually the first time since we are on Michelin that I'm running the DH22. The conditions in La Trail are very tricky. There is a lot of wet routes, wet rocks, and the terrain is very unpredictable. So the DH22 offers even more grip, a little less rolling speed, I would say, but for the tracks here that are pretty full on, very steep, and where you need a lot of grip, and also with the changing condition that we had yesterday, I felt like I had much more confidence with the DH22. So I have three choices for the front. There is the mud, which we rarely use, but there is a DH22 that is in between, and the wide enduro front that I use when the terrain is a little bit harder. At the back, we have here the wide enduro front. At the back, the reason is usually I'm running the wide enduro rear, but once again here in La Trail the terrain is very steep, and I had much more braking with this tire at the back, so we decided to go for the tire that I usually run at the front, but it's also a very good back tire. So it's the first year on Michelin, and we feel like we've made such a big improvement switching from one brand to Michelin. Those tires give us so much more confidence, and not only me, the whole team is very happy with it. So it was a very good change for us, for sure. So for the pedals, I'm running the Crank Brother Mallet Enduro. As you can see, so the pins are not too high, because that gives me the option to unclip faster that way. But I still like to have them just in case I unclip and I decide to go flat pedals for a few sections. So that's the pedal that I've been using since the beginning of my career, and I really like them. So what I carry for the races, obviously I have the one-up tool, which has a lot. So you've got all the Allen keys that you need, you've got torque keys, you've got tire lever, you also have the plug in case you get a puncture. So that's a very useful tool. You've got also a link for your chain, so it's very magical and a big help. I also carry obviously a tube in case of a big puncture that I can't fix with a plug, and just a bottle of water that I put here in the cage. But except from that, I'm also running the Alpine Star Paragon vest, which has pocket on the side, and I obviously carry food, gel, CO2 cans as well with the adapter, so I can pretty much do everything that I need if something happens on the bike. So as you can see, we are running the Stance No Tube Flow AX3. So Stance also makes carbon rims, but I'm a big believer of flex on the bike, and the aluminum rims provides more flex and forgive a little bit more in case of you make a mistake. So like I say, we had wet conditions here in La Trail, a lot of off cambers, a lot of rocks, a lot of roots. So I feel like those aluminum rims give you more confidence and more flex when you're going through very rough and hard conditions and terrain like we had here in La Trail. So yeah, I think that's it for the bike check. It's a beautiful navy colors, and it's a very good change switching from last year's Force to this brand new Force with the idler. I feel like you know, we tested both bikes back to back, and straight away we were faster with the new bike. So it's always good when the improvement come from the brand that you're riding for, and not only from yourself. So yeah, it's been good to discover this bike, and let's go buy it.